How many trees are you going to have, walnuts now, are you going to be able to grow on an acre that you're going to be able to sell for veneer? 35 on an acre. My name is Mark Cogsall, and I'm a retired faculty member from the School of Natural Resources at MU. And we are here today, myself, along with Cheryl Reeker, who is behind the camera. And we are at the Horticulture and Agroforestry Research Farm based in New Franklin, Missouri. And we are here on the middle of, I think, the 12th or 13th of December, 2023. Today, we're going to talk about pruning hardwood trees for timber purposes. So that's kind of what we're all about today, and the reason why we are here in December, because as you can see behind me, these are a group of trees that I planted in the year 2012, and we are now 2023, so do the math, about 11 years old, 12 years old. So, and if you were going to be pruning some of these trees, or all of them, for timber purposes, how would you do it? So that's kind of where we're coming from. And these trees are, quote unquote, about the right size to try to do this type of work. And before we get started, I wanted to mention to you a couple of things about the time of the year that we would do it, how we would do it, and basically how we would do it kind of depends on your understanding, our understanding of how do trees grow. Certain branches versus the main stem, they grow at certain times of the year. They don't always grow at the same time, by the way. We'll talk about that as we get into this. We'll also talk about the tools of the trade. And you can see to my right over here, there's a very large silver-colored pole saw, which is a telescoping, collapsible type of a device, and it has a curved, excuse me, I have a cold today, sorry, curved head with a very sharp blade, and it cuts through these branches we're going to attack here in a moment, like knife through butter. And so it is it's a very desirable tool to have. So let's talk about, we're going to cut some branches off today in order to improve the form of the tree for ultimately timber purposes. In Missouri, you can grow trees, walnuts. Do we all know, I think we know, walnuts are the most valuable fine hardwood tree species that grows in North America, period, bar none. Walnut also in Missouri is unique in that you can grow it for timber, like we're going to talk about today. You can also grow them for nuts, edible nuts that we eat. And so that's a kind of a dual purpose tree. But today, I'm going to talk to you just about growing this particular species for its timber value. In Missouri, if you are going to grow a tree like some of these behind me till their maturity, and we can talk about maturity later if you want to, in terms of how big a tree has to be mature, to cut it for its log, for its timber value, for veneer is where we're going here, guys. How tall should the stem be? Well, in Missouri, it's a minimum of 8 feet, okay? And desirable to get it to 12 feet. In other parts of the United States, further east of here, for example, in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, same species, but they don't grow them, pardon me, for 8 to 12 foot. They will if they have to, because of crooks or bends or forks or something, whatever. But they like to grow them to 16 feet. So different parts of the country have different realities in terms of what the desired market is in those locations. So for us, we're going to focus on trees to get a nice straight stem. It's not going to happen all in 1 year, by the way. It's going to take a few years to do this, to do it well. And we're going to try to get for at least an 8 foot with a little bit of extra because you always have to have a little bit of extra, because whoever's cutting the tree down, pardon me, you have to have a little bit of trim on either end, so you have 8 foot clear. Does that make sense, I think? So it's going to be 8 foot or 12 foot. Real quick, okay, there's the stem. Here's the stem. It's very crooked. Am I going to work on this tree? Nope, it's too far gone. It's too crooked. You're never going to get a veneer log out of it. Other ones down here, however, have some potential, and those are the ones we're going to focus on today. We're talking today in the middle of December, and what's the tree doing? Is the tree doing anything right now? Is it growing? No, not now. Now, shift a couple of months. When do the leaves come out on walnut trees here in Missouri? When you see the new green shoots? Usually about as early as the first 10 days of April into about the middle of May. Depends on the tree. But before you see those leaves coming out, is the tree growing? When I say growing, I mean growing like this. The answer is yes. No leaves, but they're still growing like that in diameter. So there's that little factoid. No leaves, you could still have growth. In the spring, early spring. What about the branches? What do they do? You know, 1 year they're this size, and 5 years from now they're going to be that size, this branch, if I leave it here. So they have to grow in diameter too, don't they? But when do they grow in diameter? Do they grow when the big stem grows, the main trunk of the tree? And these, do they grow at the same time? Nope, they don't. Which one grows first? This does. If it's going to put on any diameter growth at all, it does before the main stem does. Why is that important? Why do we care? So what? We care because as this tree branch grows, okay, it occurs, obviously there's a point of attachment here where my finger is pointing, okay, between the big stem and the branch. So the branch starts to grow in diameter, and then very soon thereafter, but not at the same time, the big stem, the main bowl of the tree, the main stem of the tree starts to grow, and it grows a lot. Obviously, this is big, that's little for same age tree, right? So my point for dwelling on this so much is that if you come along with a big saw like this and prune it off the right way, you'll have a pruning scar from this cutting the branch. But then in a perfect world, what will happen is the branch will be removed by yours truly here in a bit, and right after that, in terms of the calendar, the main stem will grow over it. Hopefully that makes some sense. So things grow. There's this branch grows initially, and then that grows after it. And it grows like this, like this, like this, like this, if that makes sense. So that's without pruning it off, this type of growth where you have timing 1 here and timing 2 here in terms of the calendar, it makes this union very strong to hold the weight of the leaves, the branches, and oh, by the way, the nuts. Walnut nuts are heavy, I'm here to tell you. And so this helps to provide a stable point of attachment, if that makes sense, between the main stem and the branch. Now, the idea in a perfect world, I use that phrase a lot, don't I? In a perfect world, you would try to prune, we're back on the timber idea now. You'd prune the trees for timber, the branches for timber, and you would prune them when they're only about that big, about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches at the point of attachment, okay? Why do I say that? If they are bigger than that in diameter, remember that how the main stem is going to grow over that cut point where I cut it with the saw? It's not going to be able to cover it over in 1 year. It'll take 2 or 3 years. okay? So the smaller you can prune these branches, the quicker they'll heal over. And why do we care about healing over? Healing over, the growth of the main stem will cover that old branch stub. How about that? Use that word. Because you want to make sure that you don't want to have an open, quote unquote, open wound, because then you have all kinds of potential opportunities for little things like insects, and especially diseases that are vectored by insects, to enter that point where you wounded the tree. So there's that. So we've talked about how the growth of the main stem and the branch, they're not the same. You try to get them when they're smaller is better. If you're going to take this branch off, I would have taken this off about 3 years ago. But Cheryl and I were not thinking about doing a video 3 years ago on this tree. So you get the idea. So here's another, just a little, perhaps a bit of humor. If you're in the field in a plantation like this, it doesn't have to be walnuts, it can be anything. It can be oak trees too, for all other hardwood trees. The joke, it is a joke. You can have 5 foresters standing next to a tree, one tree, and you'll have at least 6 or 7 opinions from the 5 foresters on how do you prune this tree. It is not universal. It is based on experience. It is based on an understanding about how the trees grow, the branch story I talked about before. And if it's really crooked and you're growing it for timber, just keep walking. Don't bother. Focus on the ones that have potential value. Also, another thing, these trees are behind me, as you can see, they're fairly close together in terms of their spacing. And are you going to carry, the word is carry, at least the one I use, are you going to carry all of these trees to the size of a veneer log? Nope, not going to happen. So we have hundreds and hundreds of trees per acre. I can't remember what the numbers is in terms of the spacing. I can't remember that right off the top of my head right this moment. How many trees are you going to have, walnuts now, are you going to be able to grow on an acre that you're going to be able to sell for veneer? 35 on an acre. That's pretty wide spacing, guys. Right now, we have a lot more than 35 trees per acre. So a lot of these trees, if they're crooked, keep walking. You're going to cut them down for something else, or you're just going to cut them down in favor of the ones that you have that have potential value. So these are things just to kind of keep in the back of your mind as you are approaching the whole story of pruning trees. And so real quick, back on, here we are in December. We talked about the growth and all that stuff. We already talked about that before. But December, no leaves, dormant, right? I mean, the trees are not growing. They're just sitting there like a bump. And so December, February, March, that timeline in the calendar. You probably could start around right after Thanksgiving if you wanted to, okay? So all of December, all of January, all of February, that is prime time pruning time. So whether you're talking about oak trees, you're talking about not very pretty walnut trees, you get the idea. So you want to avoid when the leaves are starting to push, like we talked about before. You don't want to prune trees then, because again, there's potential for disease / insect issues, and particularly for some trees like red oaks, not walnuts, but red oaks. There's a disease called, it's a native disease, native to North America, called oak wilt. That can be deadly. And if you prune trees in, say, last week of April, first week of May, and you're pruning red oaks, oh no, don't do that. No, don't go there, because you're just opening up these wounds for potential sources of opportunity for that fungus, which is native, which is, it's everywhere, quote unquote. You want to be prudent in terms of the timing of when you prune what species. So for me, if they're dormant, I go get them. If they start to push green, green leaves, I say, that's it. I didn't get them all done this year. I'll have to do some more next year. So that's all for now. So we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to move from here down to a tree I actually think has potential. And we're actually going to talk about how to prune it.